Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the festival. I've been asked to speak to you this morning, and I'm very happy to do so. Welcome. Today I'll be speaking on metaphysics, a bit of spirituality, and a lot of self-development. My name is Dr. Henderson. I'm a cognitive scientist, and I like to combine metaphysics with psychology and science to make it a bit more understandable for those of you that are sitting on the fence, so to speak. I know that many people are uncomfortable with the idea of metaphysics or even the concept of metaphysics. I think it's because most people don't understand what it really is. Metaphysics is basically just the study of principles and ideas that go beyond normal physical science and physics, slightly beyond. They just haven't been discovered yet. So let's start. I'm going to be doing what we call a self-development curve this morning. I'm going to show you how metaphysical or spiritual development can be compared to the normal growth of a human being, personal growth, self-development, and how they actually go together, and then only right at the end you separate into metaphysics and into normal personal growth, which actually stops there. Right, so I'm going to do this in stages. I'm going to start with stage one. Stage one is first, I think we all come to this point in our life. We realize our need to change. In fact, we have to come to this point in our lives. If we don't, we're going to just go through life in a conditioned way, step by step, and really not to develop or unfold ourselves or be what we could possibly be. In other words, actualize. We need to come to a point where we make a commitment, a moment of realization where there's more to life than just books and TV and parties, and there's more to life. There's deeper hidden principles behind life. So let's start. I'm going to use a board quickly and show you. Okay, this is going to be the curve. So we've got now this point of absolute commitment. Right? This is the point, as I say, where we come to this realization. And this could take many, many years. It could take an entire lifetime for some people to get to this point. Some people never get to it. And then they don't realize how much more there is to life. Okay, so I'm going to show you the curve quickly. We're coming there to a point called self-actualization. In psychology, it's called self-actualization. And in a spiritual way, we could call it spiritual wholeness, spiritual realization. The point where we have become fully human beings and fully spiritual as well. Okay, I've mentioned that this first step is the decision. We make that commitment. The second stage is once we've made the commitment, we need to clean house. I call it clean house. Okay? What that means is we've got to prepare. We've got to prepare for this journey into the self, the journey into spirituality, or just personal growth. We have to prepare for it. It doesn't just happen. The easiest way of saying this is we need to get our lives in order. We need to create the time and space for this growth to take place. It's not going to take place if we just leave things as they are. We have to create that space and that time for us to grow. We actually need the space to grow. Okay, we need to create a balance in our lives and prepare ourselves. And this is normally done through self-examination and introspection. So the first stage, or in this case, the second stage would be this point of self-examination, where we look at ourselves and say, where are those aspects, what are those parts of ourselves that we need to develop? Where are we? Where do we fall short? Right. The way to do this, obviously, as I say, is simplify our lives to start with. If our lives are filled with distractions, with parties and all kinds of activities, and basically an unthinking lifestyle, excess, we're not going to have the time to devote to spiritual study and growth, and even personal development. So we need to start getting our lives in order if we want to go on this journey. And I would encourage you to go on this journey. Right. Another aspect we have to cultivate at this point, at this stage, which is stage 2 of the curve, is mindfulness. You know, most of us go through life in a conditioned step-by-step way, blah, 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 blah. We do things habitually, out of habit, never really thinking what we're doing, or possibly not even thinking of the future sometimes. We need to cultivate mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? Many writers have spoken about mindfulness. They call it awareness, being in the moment, being present. Basically, being able to be alone with yourself and think and be aware. I'm not too sure if you understand this concept yet, so what I'm going to do is give you a brief exercise in mindfulness, which will make you feel what I'm trying to say. This quiet state of understanding, of depth, of presence. What I want you to do then, if you're going to do a very quick exercise, and it's a breathing exercise, it's a relaxation exercise, there's nothing magical about it. It's based on scientific principles. What I want you to do is just relax. Get yourself into a relaxed position, peaceful position. Start breathing normally. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our mind off our everyday things, everything that's happening around us. We need to focus only on our awareness. That is mindfulness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to count 1 to 5 with your breathing. In other words, when you breathe in, it's 1 to 5. When you hold, it's 1 to 5. Let's breathe out, 1 to 5. And breathing in again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'll do an exercise with you quickly. Okay, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Focus on your breath. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do this a few times. I think one needs to do it, say, about 3 times before it starts affecting. What happens is you get this a state of quiet, a sort of feeling of quiet that descends upon you. You focus on your breathing. You've taken all your thoughts of your day-to-day concerns. And you are fully, for that few moments, you are fully present. Now you can imagine carrying this state of mind with you all the time. We're looking at it during your perception, during your thinking, during your actions. You are mindful of what you're doing. You're taking the time to think. That is the basis of mindfulness, and we need that for self-development. We need to be aware of what we are doing. Okay, so the next stage up this curve is stage 3. Okay, this is 2. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to just put your emotion because I'm running out of space. What it means is we come to a point in our lives where we need to deal with the past. We need to deal with stuff from our past, emotions, unblocked emotions, unhappy feelings. It's all part of personal growth. This is part of the natural personal growth process. At this point, metaphysics, spiritual development, and personal growth and development are moving together up this curve. They're the same. It's the same for spirituality as it is for personal growth. So we need to develop what we call emotional wellness for our journey. Emotional wellness basically means we are emotionally stable, balanced, to a certain extent. We can deal with our own emotions on a day-to-day basis. We cope with them. And we actually have empathy for others. We can concern ourselves about other people as well, about their emotions and about how they're feeling. In other words, we're extending ourselves out to these people. That is emotional wellness. Enough sufficient for ourselves and for others. So what we're talking about here at stage 3 is a period of self-healing. We've come to this point now. We need to deal with these emotions. The reason why we deal with emotions first is that by clearing out our emotions, it allows our mind to be clearer. If we are filled with concerns and emotions and frustrations, we can't think clearly. And the next stage of thinking, we'll deal with that. At this point, we need to clear that stuff and balance it to get to a point where we can actually develop and move forward. Right, so we need to cut that emotional drama in our lives as much as possible. We need to make an effort. In my case, I'm not saying you all have to do it. I limit the amount of TV and drama that I look at. I try to keep my input, drama input, as low as possible. In other words, make it easier for myself to handle. Don't get involved in other people's drama, and don't buy into this fear. Don't, especially with this COVID-19, it can induce feelings of fear and concern. And yes, we have a reason to be concerned, but don't buy into the fear and let it take over your life. We need to be balanced with the situation and be objective. Okay, so we need to release emotions that have been blocked for many, many years. Fear, anger, hatred against people, resentment against people. We're carrying all this stuff, and we don't seem to realize that it does us more harm than it does that person. They don't even know that we resentful towards them. So it doesn't bother them, but it bothers us because we're living with this every day. So we need to get to a point where we can let go of this. And this is the point of forgiveness. It can be religious forgiveness. It can be self-forgiveness. It can be psychologically forgiveness. In other words, you're doing it for yourself. You're basically just clearing your mind of all this stuff. It's purely psychological with no religious connotation. Or if you are a religious person, it's fine. Gain forgiveness. Ask forgiveness. And forgive those who have trespassed against you. We need to clear that stuff. We can't carry that, pull those boulders with us and carry this load. If we're moving forward on this journey of self-development, we need to be free of these burdens. Right. I understand it might be difficult for many people to say, okay, it sounds easy, but how do we do this? There are many ways. There are self-help books. There are self-help courses, personal growth courses, also counseling, spiritual counseling, life coaching. You're not expected to do it alone. We are allowed to call for help. And I would advise you that if you're getting stuck in a place, call for help. Look for a good coach, a good spiritual coach, or even a good psychologist who can help you work through these things. But if you're going to go this journey of self-actualization, of self-development, you're going to need to clear this stuff out. At the same time, is learn to radiate new emotions. I'll give you a tip. In psychology, one cannot hold two emotions at the same time. In other words, you cannot hate or resent something and at the same time radiate love. It's not possible for the human mind and emotional body to do this. So what I would recommend to you is try and practice giving off love. Just starting to accept everyone, accept nature, love it. It's all part of creation. It's all part of, you are brother and sister to these people, and brother and sister to these natural beings animals. Love them as and as connected to you. And in radiating this love, you will then not be able to hold these emotions of resentment, anger, frustration. Right. We're coming now to the point, stage 4, which is mental wellness. Right. I've dealt with emotional, and I've said to you how important it is to deal with emotional first, so that now we come to the mental part of our journey, and of self-development, and of metaphysical or spiritual development. One cannot separate the mind from the spirit. I believe that the mind is actually almost an aspect of the soul. The soul is what gives us consciousness. The soul is what gives us life. And then the mind that is formed is basically almost like we could say the soul passing through the brain. So they are connected, and clearing the mind also creates the platform for self-development. Right, so this stage we're going to look to cultivate a clear and a powerful mind. And once again, the first step is to learn to quieten the mind. You know, our minds are normally full of chatter and on a day-to-day basis, and all this kinds of goings on, chatter, clutter. I think we think too much many times. It's called overthinking. And we need to try and quieten the minds. You can use that quieting the mind 1 to 5 exercise I gave you earlier, or there are other ways of doing it. Let's have a look at them. The first thing I've realized, or one of the great lessons in life I realized, was don't sweat the small stuff. In other words, don't get involved in other people's karma, other people's issues, unless they ask for help, obviously. Don't buy into these things. Don't buy into fears and concerns. And also have a philosophical approach to life. I've been fortunate to have studied philosophy, so I do that normally. In other words, I look at everything philosophically, objectively, in a balanced way, and I don't allow things to upset me unnecessarily. I try to let go of doubts and uncertainty. If you have doubts, have a little bit of introspection and come to an understanding which is acceptable to you. Let go of uncertainty. If you are uncertain about a belief system or about anything, spend time with it. Chew on it. And ask yourself, is this what I need to do? What do I need to do here? Am I satisfied with the situation? Do I need to change anything in my thinking? In other words, self-examination. This is a very important stage of self-examination. I mentioned earlier about the little chatter in the brain. In psychology, this is called self-talk, or the technical term is internal dialogue in a speech, something like that. What it is what your mind tells you. In other words, we'll be in a situation, a social situation or work situation. Just give me an example. A work situation, your boss comes to you and says, "Hey, John, I want you to do this project for me." And immediately John says, "Oh my goodness, no, I can't handle this. I'm so busy. I can't handle this." So John's self-talk is, "I am so busy, I can't handle this." And he spends the rest of the morning with his hands in his head and saying, "Oh, I can't do this. It's just too much for me." Look at that self-talk. That self-talk is actually wreaking havoc on John's subconscious mind, because it's getting into there and it's telling him he can't do stuff. It's making rules. "John, you can't do it. You just told yourself you can't do it." So what happens? John doesn't do it. And the boss looks at him and says, "Well, I was going to consider you for promotion, but now you can't do that project, so what's the point?" So you've got to challenge this negative thinking and negative self-belief. A lot of this is based on self-beliefs. In psychology, some of them are called schemas, which is like a self-concept. The concept, what you believe about yourself. If you believe that you can't do this, if you believe that you haven't got the abilities or the or the skills, you will not be able to do it, and it will affect your life, it will affect your social life, it will affect your career, because it will transform or transmute into actions or non-actions, in John's case, and then it will have an effect on his life or his career. Or in our case, advancement. If we tell ourselves we can't do this, or I don't want to do that, or I'm scared of this, I hesitate with this, you're not going to get there. So one has to clear one's mind out of this negativity, of negative self-beliefs, because you have to make room for the new stuff. It's as simple as that. If we want to introduce new ideas, new growth, new steps into our life, we have to make the space for it, which means we have to let go of this negativity and our negative self-concept or beliefs about ourselves. How do we do this? Once again, we can do it ourselves through self-help books, personal growth courses, holistic books, videos, a lot of wonderful videos, motivational videos available, discussion groups, anything form of action where you start taking action to clear out this negativity. We cannot wallow. We simply cannot wallow in that negativity and then expect to go forward and to actualize. It needs to be cleared. In metaphysics, there's a difference there. In normal personal growth course, yes. In metaphysics and spiritual development, we actually go deeper than that. We go into what is called subliminal programming, which can be done in personal growth courses as well, where we use affirmations, intentions, and in metaphysics and spiritual growth, we specifically use techniques called, obviously, meditation and visualization, in which we create scenarios in our mind where we can challenge this negativity and change the lines of negativity that are formed within our minds. They lay there often at the subconscious level. So sometimes we have to enter the subconscious mind to actually get rid of that stuff. And this is where metaphysics is, to me, more powerful, and spiritual development is more powerful than just personal growth, because we actually can work at the subconscious level using very advanced skills, which I'm not going to go through. Obviously, this talk doesn't include that. But if you read a good book on metaphysics, you will see the kind of skills that are available, where we can do programming at the subconscious level. Okay, I'm going to go now to stage 5 of the personal growth course. At this stage, the spiritual growth curve and the personal growth curve and the spiritual metaphysical curve are still together. I haven't separated. The techniques are the same, the skills are the same, the outcomes are the same. This is why I say that metaphysics and spirituality is not something supernatural. It's actually part of a normal development process. We need to accept that and not get concerned when people start talking about spiritual stuff, because I'm a cognitive scientist, basically, but a scientist of the mind, and I see a scientific explanation for these things, and I don't have a problem with it. Okay, stage 5, we're looking to access our authentic self. Authentic. Okay. We want to realize our authentic self. What is the authentic self? Well, in psychology, it's considered the higher self, the authentic self. It's basically that highest part of you, of your mind, which contains all your morality, your compassion, the best of you. In other words, they presuppose, which is very interesting, especially for metaphysics, that at the center of the human being, there's goodness. There is a core of goodness, a core of authenticity, of realness. And during life, we pack around this core, like an onion, we put layer upon layer of conditioning. We're conditioned by our social situation, we're conditioned by culture, we're conditioned by religion, and all kinds of beliefs, ideological beliefs. We become conditioned, and that pure core of goodness and consciousness becomes then obscured by all this conditioning. Now, in order to get through to the authentic self, we then have to unpack this or clear it out. Typically, a way this is presented is through masks. We wear masks. In other words, we take on these roles and we pretend to be what we are not. We become inauthentic. The minute we take off this mask, then people will see us vulnerable as we are, which is fine. But for some people, that is scary. But anyway, this is the essential part, and we're coming now to the top end of personal development, or the growth curve, where we need to become real. Be prepared to put down these masks. If you feel vulnerable, be vulnerable. If you feel compassionate, even if you're a manager, be compassionate. You know, this is the kind of thing. Let go of the conditioning, of what people have told you, what schools have told you, what institutions have told you. Think for yourself, become real. Independent thinking, real feeling. That's what we're looking for. Krishnamurti is a very famous Indian philosopher. He spoke of the loneliness of self. In other words, the minute we come to this point of self-realization, the one right at the beginning, I spoke about that moment of realization, we become lonely because we realize that there's so much to do and we feel alone on this journey. It's called the loneliness of self. We are not lonely. We are not alone on this journey. We have friends, we have family, we have so many teachers out there. And if you are spiritually inclined, we have so much guidance and so many great masters out there who are prepared to help us during our times of meditation or prayer. So we need to dispel this loneliness of self and realize our oneness with all things, with the universe and with things, with everyone, with everything in nature, the oneness. This, once again, we can achieve through personal growth courses. And in metaphysics, we have special meditations to do this. As I say, it's going to take a while, so I'm not going to present it during this talk. It's called the meditation of the I, or the I meditation. Not the I, the I. The I meditation. In other words, you meditate on the realization of yourself, of who you are and what you are. And you meditate on that using certain movements until you get this sudden realization of truth. And all the masks just fall away. And all the illusion just falls away. And then you feel, this is it. This is what I am. So, that is stage 5. I hope you are all on the page with me here. This stage 5 is deep reflection. It is a hard work. It is hard work, but it is worthwhile in the end. It is worthwhile. Okay. The last stage then is stage 6, which is self-actualization, which I've already explained there. This is the final stage of personal growth. Okay. In most personal growth courses are and counseling is aimed at taking you to a point of self-actualization, where you become what you can be, where you've expanded yourself emotionally, mentally, morally, spiritually, and you've fulfilled your potential, your purpose, and you feel satisfied with that. Once again, this is normally done through courses, but in fact, life itself is geared towards self-development. If you look at all the challenges we have in life, If we overcome these challenges, we grow. And in growing, we develop. And we're moving towards this point of self-actualization, where we are competent, and we are at the peak of our performance, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Many people don't get to this point, unfortunately. They get stuck along the way with one of these other stages, if they take the decision to grow, which is the first decision of all. Some people never take that decision, as I say. They go through life habitually, mechanically. But assuming you've taken that decision and that you are on this path, this is what you're aiming for. Now, as I said, life experiences will teach you. Personal growth courses will take you there. Counseling and spiritual counseling will help you towards self-actualization. In metaphysics, we go one step further. And this is where the separation takes place between personal growth and metaphysics. Because metaphysics now takes you deep into the subconscious mind. We're looking at further development taking place at a vertical level into the subconscious mind, accessing the power of the subconscious mind. Most of us aren't aware of the true power of the subconscious mind. It's like 80% of our activity is there. We're just not aware of it. We can only process a small amount. But there's a huge amount of activity taking place. And there's also communication happening between your subconscious and conscious processes. During dreams, it comes out during dreams, comes out during moments of intuition. We get messages from the subconscious mind. What we need to do then is build a relationship with the subconscious mind. In metaphysics and spiritual development, we do this. And purposely strive. You know, in one of my books, I use the metaphor of the lover. This appeals to a lot of young ladies, I think. What it means is that you have to see your subconscious mind as a sort of separate personality. And start to love your subconscious mind and treat it as if you were wooing a lover. In other words, kind words, gentleness, revealing strength, revealing your confidence, revealing your ability to care, to do your activity. You have to demonstrate to your subconscious mind that you are ready for this experience of self-actualization. You can call it the realization of the soul, whatever we want to call it. It's the ultimate in human expression. And as I say, I don't believe that one can achieve this without the work of the subconscious mind, because the personal growth is only taking you to this point. Personal growth has taken you there. But now metaphysics takes you deeper into yourself, into the subconscious mind, and where you build this relationship and you start using very advanced metaphysical skills, like called spontaneous imagery. Wow, this thing I don't know how to explain to you, the spontaneous imagery. It's the most fantastic experience ever. What it is when you're actually doing visualizations, during normal meditation and visualization, and things start happening in your visualization, things that you are not under your control. The whole scene can shift. Figures appear, figures disappear, symbols. It all happens in your mind during this meditation, using what I call it spontaneous imagery, which is described in my books in great detail. In other words, you're connecting with a higher reality. And obviously you have to accept that there is a higher reality, otherwise it won't work. So once you accept there's a higher reality, your intentions are to connect with this higher reality, and the tools that you use will be meditation and spontaneous imagery. And as I say, I'm not going to go into spontaneous imagery because there's 10 steps to it, and it's going to take up another half an hour. But anyway, that's in my books. You can look at, or just look it up. So we need to develop these skills. And this is the final stage of spiritual development, metaphysical development, which leaves behind your normal personal growth. We're developing skills. The kind of skills is to work with energy, heightened sense perception, intuition and development of intuition. You become more intuitive. Your dreaming becomes more lucid. Inner sight. The spontaneous imagery I described actually leads to what we call inner sight, where you start to become aware of situations around you, of higher reality presenting itself in figures, personalities, or ideas. And the aim of this whole thing is to realize the soul at the end of the day. I believe that we are essentially a soul, a spiritual being, and that once we've cleared the path through all these stages, then the soul starts to reveal itself, and we become fully functioning as we were meant to be. And that's important, as we were meant to be. So I thank you. I wanted to summarize very quickly. So we've gone through these 6 stages of personal growth, which I've likened to metaphysical growth, and I've said that metaphysics is not a supernatural thing. It can be seen as natural up to this point, where we separate and we start working with the subconscious, working deeply within the subconscious mind. It takes a bit of courage, it takes a bit of commitment, but it's very, very rewarding. So I'd like to encourage those of you that are sitting on the fence is to read some metaphysical books and get used to the concepts. It's basically just a different way of saying the same thing. And get onto the path, get onto the journey. Take this journey with me or with others, and unfold yourselves, unfold your souls. And I can promise you a wonderful life full of richness and much depth of understanding and a state of peace, absolute peace. I thank you for tuning in today and for spending this time with me. Thank you.